The feeder is empty. The yard is completely still. And every bird you watched this morning has simply vanished. No flutter at the branches, no movement in the hedges. The sky turns the color of slate, and the silence gets heavy in a way that doesn't feel like peace. You've seen this before, but you've never understood what's actually happening out there. What your birds are doing right now, in the hours before a storm even arrives, is one of the most precisely engineered survival systems in the natural world. You're about to find out why a chickadee can read a pressure drop faster than your phone, why the birds hiding in your yard right now are not afraid, they're calculating, and why the birds that come back to your feeder after a storm are not always all the birds that left. If you're the kind of person who looks out at their yard and wonders what's really going on out there, this is your channel. Subscribe and don't miss what's coming next. Before this video ends, you will learn something about the birds that come back to your feeder the morning after a storm, and why what you see there is not the same yard you thought you knew. 1. An hour before the rain arrives, your yard will go quieter than it ever does at night. This is not coincidence. Birds can detect infrasound, low-frequency pressure waves traveling far below what human ears can register, and a developing storm generates infrasound that travels hundreds of miles ahead of the clouds. Researchers at the University of California, Berkeley, found that birds alter their behavior more than 24 hours before a storm arrives, at a point when meteorologists had not yet confirmed the storm's path, and when local conditions still appeared completely normal. Your birds don't watch the sky. They feel the sky in a way you never will. That sensation, that invisible pressure moving through them right now, is what sends them to cover long before you've noticed a single cloud. But knowing the storm is coming is only half the calculation. The other half depends entirely on what they know about your yard. 2. The birds that disappear into your shrubs before a storm aren't sheltering from rain. They're managing their body temperature. A small songbird, a white-throated sparrow, a dark-eyed junco, has a core body temperature of around 104 to 107 degrees Fahrenheit. In driving rain, wind, and cold, maintaining that temperature burns through fat reserves at a rate that can become fatal in under 24 hours. Researchers at Kansas State University found that small songbirds exposed to severe storm conditions without adequate pre-storm feeding could burn through their entire subcutaneous fat layer in less than a day. Every sunflower seed your birds took from the feeder this morning was not food. It was insulation. It was time. It was the margin between surviving and not. 3. Right now, somewhere in the dense cover of your yard, in the thickest part of a shrub, pressed low against the leeward side of a branch, a bird is entering a state called regulated hypothermia. It's not sleep. The bird is deliberately lowering its own body temperature by up to 22 degrees Fahrenheit below its normal daytime level, slowing its heart rate and reducing its metabolic burn to a fraction of what it uses in daylight. It will hold that state for hours. In that state, it cannot fly, it cannot flee. It is completely at the mercy of the choice it made. Which branch? Which shrub? Which yard? Ornithologists have documented this response in more than a dozen species of common backyard birds during winter storm events. You could walk past the shrub and never know the bird was there. It has made itself, biologically, almost invisible. But not every bird in your yard is hiding. 4. Some feed harder. In the 90 minutes before a major storm, Researchers tracking barometric pressure and bird feeding behavior documented a surge in feeder activity. Birds responding to the pressure drop with the same urgency a person might feel before a long fast. Their findings showed that declining atmospheric pressure directly triggers intensified feeding. A single black-capped chickadee already needs to consume roughly 1/3 of its body weight every single day just to sustain itself. And before a storm, that drive intensifies further. If you've ever noticed your feeders suddenly swarming before a storm hit, you witnessed that calculation in real time. Dozens of small lives running a precise metabolic equation in your yard. The equation has only two outcomes: enough or not enough. 5. The birds that survive storms in your yard are not the biggest. They are not the most aggressive. Ornithologists tracking banded populations across multiple winter storm seasons found that the highest survival rates belonged to birds that had established the most complex networks of micro-roost sites. Tight clusters of dense vegetation close to reliable food sources with multiple exit routes. A bird that knows your yard survives. A bird that doesn't. The cardinals that have been coming to your feeder for 3 seasons are not just familiar. They have memorized a map of your property that would take you hours to reconstruct. Your yard is not their background. It is their entire world. And for some of them, this storm will be the last one they face. There is a moment. It comes in the hour after a major storm passes, when the yard fills back up faster than seems possible. The feeder goes from empty to alive in minutes. Birds that had been invisible for 16 hours appear as though nothing happened. But something happened. Researchers tagging individual birds before and after storm events found that in a significant number of cases, the birds returning to a feeder are not all the same birds that left. Some didn't make it. The ones that do return, and do return immediately, are the ones that knew the yard. The ones your feeder kept alive through the season. The ones with enough stored fat from enough mornings at your feeder to survive a day and a night of cold and dark. When the storm ends and the birds come back, the ones still there. They came back because of you.